Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the 7th part of What If Deku Had a Robot Wolf. I hope you enjoy. Link to the original story and author in the description. Chapter 7, Day After the Exam. Izumi slowly stirred from her slumber. She slept peacefully after the nightmare, which she was grateful for, as normally they come in groups, one after the other in keeping her awake. But she felt reassured when she had her mother with her, holding on to her as she slept. The feeling that she was safe, that someone was holding on to her. Hugging her Durandal plush also helped. She could feel something soft pressing against her back and a pair of arms wrapped around her. Probably her mother's arms, since this was something she normally did. Opening her eyes slowly, she noticed something odd. She was still in her bed, which was odd as whenever her Inko held onto her whilst she slept, it was in her mother's bed, not her own. Turning slowly behind her, she saw a mop of brown hair behind her. The gears in her mind started to turn as she remembered what had happened last night and slowly blushed a deep red. She was sharing her room with Achiko, the nice girl from the entrance exam. And during the night, she woke up from a nightmare, after which Achiko got into her bed and put her arms around her. It was somewhat awkward to have a girl you just met hugging you from behind whilst lying in your bed. Especially when said girl is very cute with nice legs. Wait, why the hell did she just think that? I promise, if you fall again, I will be there to catch you. A voice suddenly spoke within her mind, a memory from last night. Achiko had promised she would catch her if she fell whilst holding her. Someone promised to be there to stop her from falling. It felt reassuring to have someone willing to save her. No one had promised her that before, to be there to save her if she fell. And now she did. She turned to look away from Achiko and rested her head, enjoying the company and warmth of her new friend. Despite not knowing her as long as she knew Hitoshi and Nito, Achiko was already a good friend in her book. A groan behind her told her that Achiko was stirring as well. Your hair is fluffy, she muttered quietly, her face half buried within Izumi's mess of hair. My hair is what? Izumi thought as she started to blush again. Her hair, fluffy? It's not fluffy. It's a mess that no amount of combing can fix. To be fair, she got that from her father, as well as the freckles, and he solved it by cutting it short, but Izumi preferred hers long, so long mess of hair it was. She got her green hair and vestigial tear duct mutation from her mother. And brains from both of them. Well, if there was one thing she was glad for was that her mother wasn't here to hear or see this. Might cause her to panic. Hey, looks like someone agrees with me, Durandal remarked, his head appearing from beside the bed. And, of course, there's Durandal. Izumi let out a low groan of annoyance. Not now, please, Durandal, it's too early in the morning for this. It's 9:30, Durandal replied calmly. You forgot to set your alarm, by the way. Both girls' eyes shot wide open at Durandal's statement. Fuck. She overslept. Even though it was a weekend and they didn't have anything to do today, it was still shocking to them that they overslept. Did mother not come in to wake us up? Izumi asked, sounding worried, seeing she was in an embarrassing position. She did, but then she quietly walked out with a smile, Durandal replied as he stood up, said she didn't want to disturb you too. I'll just go tell her you're up and to prep breakfast for you too, he said before he walked out of the room. He refrained from saying that she also took a photo of them due to how fucking adorable they were. He added the fucking, by the way. Both girls blushed heavily at the implication that Inko had seen this, Achiko especially because she had only just met Inko and Izumi, and it was way too early to be doing something like this. But then she thought back to last night when Izumi woke up screaming. She didn't regret what she did, which helped Izumi sleep better. She just hoped that she had woken up before Inko had seen them. We should probably get up, Achiko said nervously as she removed her arms from around Izumi. Yeah, we should, Izumi said, nodding in agreement before the two quickly got out of bed. Achiko was putting on her slippers before she paused and turned towards Izumi. I'm sorry about what happened last night, she said quietly, even if it was the right thing. She was a stranger to them and shouldn't be doing stuff like this. It's okay, there's no need to apologize, Izumi said with a smile. I needed that. My mother usually hugs me when I have nightmares. Makes me feel safe knowing someone is holding on to me. Achiko nodded, glad that this little incident hadn't made Izumi uncomfortable. Now they had to deal with another problem, parental teasing. The two left Izumi's room and entered the living room. Inko was busy getting their breakfast ready whilst Durandal sat beside the table. "Good morning, Izumi, Achiko," Inko said with a motherly smile as the two walked in. "Apologies for not waking you two up earlier, but after what happened yesterday, I thought you two could do with a lie-in." Izumi smiled. She was rather tired last night, so a lie-in probably did her some good. She wished her mother hadn't walked in on them whilst Achiko wrapped her arms around her. Even if it was to help calm her down, it was embarrassing. The two quickly sat down as Inko served breakfast, having already had something to eat earlier. "So, Achiko, how long will you be here for?" Inko asked, waiting for the two to be about halfway done before asking. Achiko finished her mouthful of food before replying, "Not long, actually. I have to head back home today. I only rented the apartment I had for 2 nights. Plus I need to get ready for school next week. I still need to finish my last year of middle school after all." "Yes, that is important," Inko said with a smile. "Well, I hope your journey home is a pleasant one." Achiko nodded. Whilst it was good that Inko hadn't been bothered by her presence, it still didn't feel right to be staying in a stranger's home. She wouldn't be here unless some crazy villain made a JSDF tank driver go mad and jump a tank into her apartment. But the Midoriyas seemed to be nice people, especially Izumi. She was cute, too. Durandal, on the other hand, had mixed feelings. Achiko had always been distrustful of robots and, in some cases, outright scared of them, especially the larger ones. You could never know what was going on inside those metal brains of theirs. At least there was one thing she and Durandal could agree on: Paxton is a dick. Still, it was quite impressive for a family like this to get their hands on a shifter robot that could shift into a suit of armor as well. Her interest in all things space had inevitably gotten her interested in the moon colony and everything going on up there, including the development of highly advanced robots capable of shifting between multiple forms, mainly humanoid and animal forms. But this was the first time she heard of one that could shift from a wolf to a suit of armor. Perhaps it was a custom job? Still, how did they get their hands on him? Shifter robots needed a positronic brain/alpha level AI to function, and they're all regulated due to a massive bald dickhead. She said her father had gotten him for her, but how? She probably shouldn't dig too much into it. Izumi had told her that Durandal was an emotional support animal on top of being support equipment, so it was best that she didn't prod too much into it. People had emotional support animals for a reason, after all. Maybe she should think about getting one for herself. "Thank you, both of you," Achiko said. "It's not often people outside of the orphanage are this kind to me. Honestly, I'm grateful that you allowed me to stay here for a bit." "Oh, don't worry about it. We're happy to help," Inko said with a smile. "Someone your age should be able to sleep with a roof over their heads," she said before turning towards her daughter. "Oh, and Izumi, don't forget to fill out that quirk registration form." "Don't worry, I'll fill it out after breakfast," Izumi replied. Achiko was about to ask why Izumi would need to fill out one of those forms, but then she remembered the talk they had yesterday in the car, where her quirk came in on the exam day. So she needed to register it. Still, to spend so long thinking she didn't have a quirk and only get access to it on the exam day. No wonder she broke herself using it. The two finished their breakfast before taking turns to go through the bathroom and get dressed for the day. Once dressed, Izumi got to work on the quirk registration form and quickly faced a problem. What the hell was she going to call her quirk? She could fill out the rest of the form easily, but the name, that's the issue. She couldn't call it One for All. That was a given. But she never came up with another name for it. Maybe they should have spent a day brainstorming a name for it. Sighing, she quickly picked up her phone and called Sir Night-Eye, hoping he wasn't in the middle of something. "Izumi, good to hear from you," Sir Night-Eye spoke over the phone. How's the young girl you allowed to stay the night doing? She's doing fine, Izumi replied. But that's not why I'm calling. It's about my quirk. I don't know what to call it. Ah, that, Sir Knight, I said. Well, you can name it whatever you want to. Quirk names can be as descriptive or random as you want them to be, or a pun or even a play on words. An old schoolmate of mine had a quirk that allowed him to melt, shape and cool chocolate, and he called it chocosine, a combination of chocolate and plasticine. Oh yeah, I've heard of him, Izumi said. He makes chocolate statues of pro heroes. Think I brought a chocolate All Might statue from him once. Shame I had to eat it. Anyway, so the name can be anything? It can. Just don't name it anything ridiculous, okay? Sir Knight, I said, if you're still struggling later today, I can help you brainstorm a few ideas. Maybe look at what other people called their quirks. It might give you some ideas. Anyway, I have an investigation to get back to, so I'll talk to you later. Okay. Thanks for the help. Talk to you later, Izumi said before ending the call. So, the name can be anything I want, even if it's unrelated to the quirk. Superpower might work, but it sounds generic, which my power isn't. Maybe all for one? No, that's stupid. It's just one for all flipped and might cause All Might to have a heart attack. Hey, isn't one for all for one a quote? I wonder if one for all has a sister quirk. Not important. Still need to name mine. Maybe something referencing that it's been passed on? Probably not, as someone who also knows about it might catch on. Decade Force? No, that's already in use, and I don't want to be called out for copying someone else. Maybe Power Stockpile? It is a stockpile quirk, after all. Yeah, that could dash. You okay there, Izumi? Achiko asked, causing Izumi to jump. How much of that did you hear? Izumi asked in a panic, worried that she may have just let loose the secret of one for all by accident. Only the words power stockpile, Achiko replied. The rest I could barely understand. Is this what your friends meant by a mumble storm? Izumi nodded, glad that she didn't accidentally reveal one for all. Yeah, a lot of people find it creepy when I do that. Apart from my mother and Durandal, Hitoshi and Nito are the only people who aren't family who are freaked out by it. I see, Achiko said with a slight frown. Well, I think it's cute. It adds to your character. Izumi started to blush. CCC cute. She blurted out. She thought her mumbling was cute. Achiko hummed with a response, smiling brightly. Yep. We all have our little eccentricities. While there, Durandal said as he leaned back. Watch it, you could flashbang someone with that smile. Yeah, I get that a lot, Achiko said. One of the care workers at the orphanage says my smiles shine like a lantern in the blackest night. I can see that, Durandal remarked. So, what time do you plan on leaving today? Sometime after lunch, Achiko replied, maybe around 2. In the meantime, I was hoping to relax for a bit. Yesterday was exhausting. Agreed, Izumi said as she wrote down Power Stockpile as the name of her quirk. We have a good selection of stuff to watch on the TV if you want to watch something in the meantime. Do you have anything sci-fi or about space? Achiko asked, I just want to vegetate to something that I don't have to focus too much on. I think we have a few, Izumi replied, although be warned, most of the stuff we have are superhero films or documentaries. Why am I not surprised, Achiko said. You really are a massive hero fan, aren't you? Izumi nodded with a smile on her face. Yep. I've always been fascinated by heroes and wanted to become one my entire life. Hopefully, I did well enough in the exam to get into UA. Well, I hope to see you there, Achiko said with a smile. Whilst I didn't see you much, you looked like you did well in the exam. I still find it hard to believe your quirk only came in yesterday. You and me both. I always thought I was quirkless, Izumi said. I'm just surprised I was able to get a handle on it so quickly. I don't know what I would have done if I had punched a normal robot and broken my arm. And your legs, Durandal added. You broke those too, jumping up to punch that titan. Not to mention the damage you caused to me when you went all out. If there weren't any robot remains around us, I would not have been able to repair myself. You're lucky I put all power into the compressors and actuators. You could have completely destroyed my front left leg with that punch and shattered your arm. Yeah, Izumi probably should try and find out my current limit so I don't break myself like that again. Is it really painful to use your quirk? Achiko asked, looking worried. Izumi nodded. Unfortunately, yes, I can only use a small amount of my maximum output. I'm just not strong enough to handle my full power, she said. During the exam, I only used 1% of it, but I didn't have time to see just how much of it I could handle, so I just stuck to it. Up until you decided to go all One Punch Man on that titan, Durandal added. At least you didn't try and pull a Metal Gear Rising on it and suplex the bloody thing. I doubt I could have done that in the first place, Izumi remarked. I'd need to have a gigantism or size-changing quirk just to be the same size as it just to be able to suplex it in the first place. Durandal looked at her with an unamused look. Not that kind of suplex, the rules of nature kind. Izumi looked at her robotic companion with a confused look. If that's supposed to be a reference to something, then I don't get it, she said before folding the form and putting it into a waiting envelope. Durandal sighed. Of course, you don't. Izumi finished sealing the envelope and made sure everything was in order. Alright, that's done. Oh yes, Achiko, would it be possible for me to accompany you when you do leave for the station? I need to go out anyway to post this. Sure you can, Achiko replied with a smile. I would appreciate the company. Izumi smiled before the two settled on the sofa and relaxed to a few films, enjoying a nice home-cooked lunch before finishing the last film. During this time, Izumi and Achiko chatted on occasion, either about quirks or heroes, as well as sharing phone numbers because she wanted to keep in contact with her even if one of them didn't make it into UA. Once it was time for Achiko to leave, they made sure all her stuff was packed and that Izumi's letter was with them before leaving. See you in a bit, Izumi said as she, Achiko and Durandal made their way to the front door. Take care, you three, Inko said with a smile as the three left the apartment and headed towards the train station, the two girls pulling one of the bags behind them. So, Izumi. I know your father works on the moon, but have you ever been there yourself? Achiko asked as they walked. Izumi shook her head. Sadly, no. It's horrendously expensive to travel to and from the moon. It takes my dad several years just to save up enough to visit us for a week. Yeah, that sadly figures, Achiko said. Even with all the advancements in spaceflight, it's still expensive to send things into orbit. Your quirk could be used to mitigate that problem, Izumi remarked. You could easily send something into orbit, but getting it back down will be a different problem. Plus, I doubt you want to spend your days throwing stuff into orbit when you want to become a hero. Achiko nodded. Yeah, as fun as that would be, I want to help save people, to be a rescue hero like 13, not become a living launch platform. Yeah, I guess that's not something you would want to do, Izumi said, although I do recommend that you try and buff yourself up a bit. Even if you want to become a rescue hero, there may be times when you will have to fight someone. Yeah, that is something I have been doing, just not as much as I would have liked, Achiko said, remembering that 13 lost an arm to one of Paxton's robots. I guess I'll be able to do more if I manage to get into UA, but at the moment, the best I can do is jogging. Money is a bit tight for me, so I can't afford a gym membership. Izumi nodded. It can't be easy for her, not having much money. She probably used most of her funds to rent an apartment for the exam and probably didn't have much left. Yeah, I couldn't afford a gym membership either, Izumi said. But in my case, it was more that the only good gyms in the area were too expensive for me or didn't want a quirkless girl working out there. So what did you do to train then? Achiko asked, a slight frown on her face. Why would someone reject someone from training at a gym because of their quirk status? It made no sense. Cleared an entire beach of trash, Durandal replied. And we're not talking about cans and broken bottles. She was moving ovens, furniture, and the remains of large robots. A full 2 kilometers worth of beach as well, cleared in 10 months. Achiko gasped. You cleared an entire beach in 10 months. Izumi nodded. Yep. Wasn't easy. I needed to bulk up quickly, and since the beach was close and full of trash, I decided to clear it. Didn't I have a hand in that? Achiko asked. You did seem to know him personally. How did you even meet? Well, whilst he didn't help with my physical training, he did teach me how to fight, Izumi replied. You can't just randomly punch someone. I still have a ways to go since he only taught me the basics. As for how he started training me, well, All Might brought him in to dash, she said before she stopped and covered her mouth. She was not supposed to say that. All Might? Achiko said, looking confused. Are you saying that All Might trained you? Izumi lowered her head, realizing she dug into that one. He may have. When I first met him, he said I had a quirk similar to his, but due to how weak my body was, I couldn't use it without running the risk of killing myself. So he agreed to train me so that I could use it, she said, which was a partial truth. She missed out on the more traumatic stuff, like her suicide attempt and breaking down. She didn't need to be burdened by that, not when she has her own emotional baggage. Wow, Achiko said. That's awesome. Also explains how you know Sir Night Eye. That must have been a dream come true. I would have loved to have been trained by 13 myself, but since she started teaching at UA, she hasn't done much hero work save for helping in major rescue operations. Yeah, it was a dream come true, Izumi said with a smile. Sometimes I just can't believe this is happening, and fear that I'm in a coma and this is all just a dream. Well, I don't think this is a dream, Achiko said with a smile, patting Izumi on the shoulder. This is very much real life. Of course, it's real life, Durandal remarked. If it were a coma, I would have noticed by now. Yeah, Achiko said nervously. So, switching to a less sensitive topic, I do hope that we both get into UA, she said. We both worked hard to get there, and, if anything, after what you did for me yesterday, you deserve to be there the most. You came to save me whilst everyone else just ran. You were a real hero back there. Thank you. Well, you're welcome, Izumi said with a slight blush. I helped you because it was the right thing to do, plus I didn't want to know what would happen if that robot reached you. But I've still got a long way to go before I'm officially a hero, as well as a lot of personal stuff to overcome. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll be able to overcome them, Achiko said with a smile. I'm sure of it. Izumi smiled. Thank you, Achiko, she said before she spotted a letterbox. Excuse me one moment, she said before she rushed over to it, put her quirk registration form into it, and rushed back. Sorry about that. No need to apologize, Achiko said with a smile. You needed to post that anyway, she said before the three carried on towards the train station. Talking a bit more about a few things, from heroes to space, even the potential existence of aliens. They also shared phone numbers so they could keep in contact with each other even if one of them didn't make it to UA. Soon enough, they arrived at the train station. Well, I guess this is it, Izumi said as they stood outside. I'll see you around, Achiko. Yep, see you around, Izumi, Achiko said with a smile as she took both cases and proceeded into the train station. Izumi would have followed her inside and waited for the train, but that wasn't exactly necessary. Plus, she'd need to buy a ticket to get onto the platform, which was pointless as she wasn't using the train today. So still smiling, she turned and headed off home, Durandal by her side. But she didn't go far until she stopped, holding a hand up to her cheek. Izumi, you okay there? Durandal asked, sounding worried. Izumi stood there for a few moments before she shook her head. I'm fine, Durandal, she said before she carried on walking, ignoring the feeling of someone kissing her cheek when there was clearly no one around. Probably her anxious mind playing tricks on her. If you say so, Durandal said before catching up with her. He had become attached to the girl over the past 10 months. Not that he could get attached to anyone else, seeing that Paxton's damn loyalty program forced him to be loyal to her. Why install such a program into an alpha-level AI anyway? Such a thing should be illegal, but then again, almost everything the bald-headed bastard did was illegal, and at the time, AIs didn't have rights. Anyway, he was getting off track. Loyalty program or not, he probably would have stuck with Izumi anyway. He needed a place to hide as there was no way he was letting anyone replicate Paxton's work, plus the girl was broken and in need of help. And whilst he and ISA had been helping her, she was still on the mend. And sadly, new problems had just manifested: her sexuality, fear of starting a relationship, and her newfound fear of heights. He wished she had brought the first two up sooner, as she needed help with it. He would help himself, but just because he has the training programmed into him, he lacks the experience that ISA has. At least she still has him to help her. Suddenly Izumi's phone started to ring. Looking confused, she brought it up, noticing that her mother was calling her. She answered the call and brought the phone up to her ear. "Hey mom, what's up?" Has Achiko gotten on board her train? Inko asked, sounding upset. Yeah, she has, Izumi replied, sounding worried. "I'm just leaving the station now." "Is something the matter, mother? Did something happen to the orphanage she lives in?" No, it's fine," Inko replied, "it's about ISA. He's dead." Izumi stopped. No, that couldn't be true. He can't be dead. She still needed him. ISA's dead. I'm afraid so, Inko said, tears forming around her eyes. His secretary just called me about it. He got caught up in a villain attack this morning and was killed. I'm so sorry about this, Izumi. Izumi's face paled. This couldn't be happening. ISA couldn't be dead. There was still so much they needed to talk about: her fear of heights, starting a relationship with someone, getting over her fear of Katsuki, and her nightmares returning. There's still so much she needed help with. But now he's gone, dead, his life taken by a villain. What was she going to do now? Who was she going to talk to about her problems? Who was going to save her if she fell again? "If you fall again, I will be there to catch you," Achiko's voice once again echoed across her mind. The promise the girl had made to her. She promised to be there for her if she fell. Not even ISA had promised her that. "You still there, dear?" Inko asked, sounding worried. "Yes, I'm still here," Izumi replied quickly. "I was just thinking about something. Will we be able to get help from someone else? I know ISA's been helping us a lot, but I still need help. There's still so much I need help with, things I forgot to speak to him about, problems I still have." "It's okay, dear. I'll see if I can book you in with another therapist," Inko said. "I'm just so sorry that this had to happen to you. I just wish I could have done more for you to prevent this all from happening." Izumi smiled. "Thank you, mother. I'll be home soon." "I'll see you soon," Inko said before she ended the call. ISA's dead. Shit, Durandal cursed as Izumi pocketed her phone, realizing he spoke too soon. Why is it always the nice ones who try and help that end up dying? Hope the villain who killed him got caught. Yeah, I hope so, too, Izumi said with a frown. She had been hoping to get help from IS-8 until she started at UA, but now, thanks to a villain, that plan had gone up in smoke. It was so distressing that someone she knew so well had been taken from her, but, as ISA told her, she had to keep moving forwards, no matter what life threw at her. Izumi and Durandal walked home, still shaken by the news of ISA's death. Unbeknownst to them, someone was watching them from an alleyway, someone Izumi was just told was dead. IS-8 Tsuneo smiled as he watched them walk away, glad his hard work was paying off. He then turned and walked down the alleyway. My apologies, Izumi Midoriya, but IS-8 Tsuneo can no longer be of any help to you, he said as he grabbed his hair and pulled, removing the wig he was wearing and revealing his bald head. But don't worry little one, you have more than enough people to support you now, he said as he removed his eyebrows, dumping the fake hair on the floor, which spontaneously combusted. He reached for his eyes, pulling up fake skin around them and pulling them out, revealing he had camera lens mounts instead of eyes, with a lot of scarring and scratch marks around them. He then dropped the fake eyes and quickly replaced them with camera lenses, locking them into place. "And don't worry about Durandal," he said with a smirk, his voice now different, no longer the calm and friendly voice of Isa Tsuneo. It was now more collective and calculating and all around evil. His accent had also changed as well, to a British one. "Despite being a failure, he will be an effective guardian for you. For the time being at least." He reached the other side of the alleyway and approached a car waiting for him, opening the rear passenger door and stepping inside. There was a robot in the driver's seat, a highly advanced one. Far more advanced than anything else on the market. "Set course for our base in Hamamatsu, and contact ARC. We're moving on to Phase 2, he said with a smile as the car drove off. The robot turned its head towards him and spoke, "By your command, Dr. Paxton." That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 8. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.